Well, everyone, it seems that through a little bit of social engineering, Rockstar Games have been absolutely owned in the data breach side of things. This has led to a absolutely humongous leak of Grand Theft Auto 6 stuff. There's currently like 90 videos which are floating around showing gameplay, which of course is in the, roughly earlier stages of production, and now the hacker also is claiming to have access to the source code for the game, which of course potentially could be data mined to find out a hell of a lot of things.
Yeah, and if you look at it from the security side of things, especially with like online components and even just people wanting microtransaction stuff, if the source code has been revealed, this could actually profoundly cause a substantial delay to GTA 6, and because GTA 5 source code has allegedly been sold, then that could be extremely bad news for what I think is easily, like, maybe not literally, but one of the biggest franchises on earth for video games, and such a, like, transformational part of the entire industry and the entire market. Could just be, yeah, sorry, someone fell for a phishing scam.
Yeah,
there's so much drama in this as well too. There's so much like individual stuff with the hacker involved, with everything, like how it was done and everything. It's that thing where it's like, this is a crazy story. You could have like a 4-hour YouTube video breaking down, like a down the rabbit hole GTA 6 leak.
Yeah, 100%. So the way it kicked off was a forum user, Teapot Tuber Hacker, claimed to have gameplay footage that was taken from Rockstar's Slack channel, right? So that would basically mean he was able to breach their Slack, which essentially means getting someone's credentials. Now, what's kind of crazy is, well, the whole Uber incident, where somebody just social engineered their way into Uber's Slack by just getting the credentials of an employee, right? By just pretending to be somebody else and asking for them. Which is, I mean, in a large company and a tech company as well, for that to happen is honestly kind of shocking.
Yeah.
It is what's happened, though.
Yeah, there's, we were having a whole discussion this internally, like yesterday when it happened. You're like, yeah, there's so many moving parts and so many ways like humans are vulnerable that honestly, if you're like working in, and this is the thing, right? We're working in cybersecurity. Hackers, as in people who sit down and type a load of code, aren't your problem.
Yeah.
Most of the time. It's people who, know how to phone someone up or know how to pretend to be someone else when texting. That's the problem. Well, it's a big tech company, but you always have people who are just going to be like the weak link in the chain. Always.
Yeah, it's always the human side. So these videos have been going around. They're obviously being copyright struck, so it's been a busy weekend for the people over at Rockstar. Now, a few of the things that we saw, well, we've got a character running out of a store, like a shootout with the police, very GTA-like things. That's one of the longest bits of footage. A lot of the other bits of footage are quite short. There's another one where a character is walking through a strip club full of NPCs, and there is an advert for like a beer within the GTA universe. So a whole bunch of these things, like, we're very quickly adding up for the legitimacy. There's also footage of a character walking through a Vice City metro train, which, again, is kind of sensible because it seems like this game will be in a Miami-based setting. Also, some of the shooting mechanics, shooting and driving, conversation system, robbing fast food. Basically, just a lot of gameplay stuff. Very GTA-like. You look at the footage and it's like, oh yeah, what is this? This is high-fidelity open-world crime, exactly what we would expect. Now, this also does appear to confirm what Bloomberg were reporting earlier this year, and basically that there would be a sort of Bonnie and Clyde thing going on between, just a man and a woman who are like a sort of Bonnie and Clyde style couple who will be the protagonists of the game, and that at least some of it will be set in Vice City. So basically, this does corroborate a lot of the stuff that we had heard before. I mean, this is obviously real, I think. Now, of course, in addition to this, we do have the hackers saying that they have got some source code for GTA 6 and for GTA 5, and they actually spent some time in their thread basically trying to prove their credentials by, like, essentially AMA style going through the stuff, which is kind of crazy. Here's one thing. One guy just asked him to send some code related to an ongoing court case versus TTI, and he just did it. Nuts. It, that's mad.
That's the fun thing when you think about, like, there's this kind of vibe that, like, hackers and black hat people give off in, like, movies and stuff, right? Where if you watch, I mean, Hackers is old as hell, but you watch Hackers, you watch anything that's like, you mean even like Mr. Robot, when it's kind of early on, it's substantially more about that kind of stuff. And he's like, this is all seems profoundly unhinged. I was like, that's the part of those shows that a lot of them are very, 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 very inaccurate, but that's the part they seem to get right. Where it is just, there is crazy drama because people are like, kind of, they're on top of the world when they do this stuff. Because imagine being one person, like Rockstar, GTA. How many billions is that company not worth? How many billions is that game franchise, that source code not worth? And all you have to do is, you know, get someone to give you a login, bang, it's yours. Of course, you'd imagine people would start doing this crazy stuff. But that's just like, there's a lot of value placed on things like source code for a game, of course. It's kind of funny how that actually manifests when someone just gets it and goes, well, I just have like a couple thousand or a couple 100,000 million lines of code and, you know, couple, I don't know how large that would be, a couple gigabyte of just text. Oh, sweet. I can just wreck everyone's life by sending this out to people. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
so
go.
they've since they woke up and claimed that it went unexpectedly viral, which no, it's totally always would have went viral.
GTA 6, like.
But they provided contact instructions for Rockstar employees and saying, I am looking to negotiate a deal, which they probably are, but this also has led to another little side dimension to this story. Now, there's been no response from either side publicly, like here with the hacker, so, you know, not mega sure, but it's almost certainly, well, I think it's probably basically like a ransom thing.
Yeah,
it would be a bit weird if you're a white hat trying to get a bounty and you did it this way.
Yeah.
That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, with a name like Teapot Uber Hacker. It's like, yeah, that's...
Why did I say Tuber Hacker? I'm
I
very
don't-
stupid.
yeah, but with Teapot Uber Hacker, that is definitely someone being, you know, being out there to try and get a couple $100,000 off Take-Two, or likely more. And also all the recognition that comes from... It's
Clout.
weird. It's weird because there's like anonymous clout there, but it's still like, it's that clout you can keep with you. Like,
It's building a legend.
Take-Two. Yeah.
Building a legend. Now, of course, it's very easy to just pretend that you're somebody. So at least one handover of $100,000 worth of Bitcoin has actually been done to somebody impersonating the hacker. So all that stuff is, you know, both crazy and also expected. Jason Schreier, though, has also leaned into this, saying that not that there was much doubt, but I've confirmed with my sources that the leak is real. The footage is, unfinished, of course, and this is one of the biggest game leaks in, the industry history, and a nightmare for Rockstar, which it absolutely will be. So, for what Rockstar have been doing is they have just been scouring Twitter, scouring everywhere where a DMCA request, can be done, trying to take things down.
As
The
is their
other,
right, like.
yeah, I know, totally, absolutely. Then it's also came to light potentially where the leak came from. This is via a French source, so it is translated, but the origin of the leak comes from Rockstar Toronto. These are old builds of GTA 6 and debug sessions that come from older pretests. Crisis situation to come tomorrow morning at Rockstar. Yes. Absolutely. This is a humongous thing. And also, this is going to be, potentially severely impactful for the development team. We'll kind of go through some of that. And I suppose it's also especially annoying when Rockstar have done quite a lot of work to essentially clean up their act to the stage where it doesn't seem like that's just a PR puff piece, where it actually seems like journalists have went to their sources at the company and found out from those sources that Rockstar have changed things up and are trying to be a bit more reasonable.
Yeah, and now I guess is the problem where you run a very, very, very big organization. There are so many leak parts, and obviously this isn't like someone, handing off like stuff for a reason. It's not like someone's selling these leaks or anything like that, or just giving them out for clout. It's because they were hacked, or they were phished or whatever else. So it was an accident, or unintentional. But it's still that case where, as like Schreier points out, it's like, yeah, this will disrupt work for a while. And it's like, management might just go, well, sorry, we have to super tighten down the hatches now.
Yeah.
You are, say work from home. You're not allowed to do that anymore because that increases your likelihood of getting got. You now have to be like on site to access files. And that's the thing when you come from a security perspective and you're like, well, what if next time it's source code, or well, because of reason to believe it's not. What if next time it's more? What if next time it's worse? What if next time it's all of the user data of like the Rockstar Club members? Well, that is a serious, serious problem, and Rockstar management would be, not to say they'd be right, but they'd be, there would be justification for them to go, sorry, you have to be on site to access files. We have to double down. We have to make your life and do stuff way harder. What if this is like, okay, well, we can't contract as much as we we don't feel comfortable contracting as much, which means all of this work that contractors were like given, it's on in-house teams to do. Sorry, we've just doubled your workload. Are we going to move the date of this game? No, because we're not going to do that. So like, there's all these different ways that this could be, like Jason points out, the repercussions of this leak might not be clear for a while, because it in so many multifaceted ways, it could have been substantially worse. It might turn out to be worse because we don't know what everything in the leak contained.
Yeah, like if the source, Slack, if the source is there, and then people can targeted exploits. Yeah, targeted exploits,
reverse engineer, stuff like that. The idea of, oh well, you can't release a game with source code that's in the wild, which means what's that, you have to re-engineer parts of your game. What's that going to mean? Depending on what was leaked, that's going to be months and months and months of work from engineers who are probably very busy, because in a game like GTA, because there's games where it's like, right, content is the thing, right? Yeah. There's games where content's important. You can get systems done not quickly, but they can be done in a portion of the game, pretty small comparatively, and then it's just content iteration, stuff like that. But in a game like GTA, where it's what was it described as earlier, high fidelity open world crime, that's the thing where, like, and this is something I noticed because I was actually watching the footage, and the stuff I saw, is like, it kind of hit me. I was like, oh yeah, everything that actually moves and happens is like the result of a huge web of complicated systems working together and kind of delivering everything. Because it's like the hostage scene that takes place in the diner, I think it is. And it's just like, whoa, what determines how these NPCs act? And this is like a modern game, so that's going to be super deep. That's going to be, hey, well, you have to make sure all the animation systems for all these NPCs are perfect. You want to make sure that the NPC behavior is on point. You want to make sure that like everyone outside is behaving correctly. And there's all of these like different webs of systems involved. And that means engineer time and basically code writers are going to be substantially more important than they would be in. I mean, I imagine something a little bit more like, say, I guess maybe God of War, unless you do loads of custom stuff all the time. But like that game's going to be like content, right? So you have more effort on the cinematic and I guess the artist side compared to systems heavy stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, sorry engineers, you're now crunching forever. Have fun, because we have to fix this or write whatever else. A solvable problem, but it could be absolutely brutal in so many ways that people don't understand. Because even from a simple perspective of Rockstar always sit outside on the fringes, right?
Yeah.
They just kind of go, we're out here, we make GTA, we're untouchable. And now it's like, wait, hang on. We've now been spurred to defensive action instead of just living the we make GTA and all the money in the world life. As soon as that's why Take-Two are so litigious as well. This could just be a full-on manhunt for like all of their legal team from now on. Just, if you so much as breathe wrong in our general direction, we will destroy you. And that's the kind of problem. As soon as that turns inward on employees, that's like, it'll be a different flavor to the problems they had, but it's still like winding back the clock, and just all that progress could just be like, nope, sorry, we do not trust any individual at this company to not have this happen again.
And like, if Source was there, there's even, things that you wouldn't anticipate. Let's just say somebody made, you could say, an ill-advised joke in in comments and code.
Yeah,
the sort of thing that can happen. And then somebody just finds that.
Yeah.
Or maybe, because obviously it's a Grand Theft Auto game, there will be some degree of sensitive material there. Maybe something is seen out of context, in a different context, whatever conclusions are drawn, because it's just looking through the source code and you don't exactly know how it's going to all pan out. There's obviously, you could see from Rockstar's perspective there could be there could be risk, right? Now what they've basically said, it comes down to the effect of they're very disappointed at the situation. They overall, though, did downplay its importance, saying that it's not really going to impact, like their ongoing live services and things like that.
Yeah, and that's why people are going, you didn't get source code.
Mm-hmm.
because if you did, Rockstar would not be able to say this is no long-term effect.
Yeah.
So that could be Rockstar kind of, I guess maybe just trying to, everything is fine, nothing's gone wrong, and then they might have to change this later. This might be pretty quickly drafted, because you can't just say, in terms of, especially when you look at like investor stuff, right? Realistically, you wouldn't be lying to investors if you were like, there might be a problem, but we're fairly sure we can handle it, and then say everything's fine. But if you went up and said, hello, GTA 6 could be delayed anywhere between 6 and, say, 12 months because of the impact of this. This is a serious blow on Rockstar. We won't be able to show GTA 6. I know you're all looking forward to it, but we won't be able to show it for a long time. So, sorry about that one. Don't blame us. It's literally the hacker's fault. And then people, that could be kind of like you're trying to get a little bit of PR behind you and go, okay, well, you're the victim here, so that's fine. We'll be happy to wait 6 to 12 months. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people will be like, no, this is awful. And like you said, oof to stock.
Yeah, publicly traded company. They're not going to be like, oh, sorry, sympathies suddenly raised your price.
Yeah, Take-Two's just numbers would go away very quickly because like, oh, sorry, we don't get our returns as quickly. Sorry, we're out. We might buy again later when it looks to be, if the price goes down again, we might buy again later, but we're expecting GTA 6, so sorry, goodbye. And that's the kind of stuff they have to worry about. And that's why I'm like, there could still potentially be problems. Yeah. It's just hard to know. They certainly won't admit to them if they don't have to.
Yeah. To move on then to some of the fallout, the public response to things.
Oh, this is fun.
It's been interesting. It's certainly shown how little some people actually know of game development. Like to a pretty hilarious degree. Also, it has been a lot of people showing sympathy and support for the developers, which has been the nice bit.
I've certainly seen different takes on whether that's nice or not. I've certainly seen people go, they're a big company, don't be bootlickers. I've seen that. I've seen that taken too, yeah.
Yeah, but that's also, I mean, you got to be able to have thoughts in multiple dimensions, right? Like, you can be like, oh, it's a big company, fuck 'em, but also be like, well, that kind of sucks for the people who have spent years of their life working on something, only for it to be shown off in the worst light. This was just like a little compilation, but I saw so many of these tweets being like, oh my god, this looks like a mod of GTA 5. And it's like, do you expect for a alpha build of a game that will knowingly be severely incomplete and may only exist to test a small subset of feet, do you expect that it's not going to look like a vertical slice? Because that's the thing. Yeah. If the only thing that had have leaked was maybe a vertical slice scene that they've done, well, then I'm sure that it would have been an entirely different thing. But from what we understand, this was like, debug work. Like this, this was essentially...
It was like not a single bit of this. Like there were some gameplay segments that seemed like vaguely finished, and then you immediately were like, oh, well, that's a load of text pop-up instead of like a voiceover.
Yeah.
So you can tell this is clearly substantially far from done. And they're piecing together bits. Loads of just like floating debug text everywhere you went in the world. And the vast majority of the footage that I saw was just grey box testing of like animations and stuff like that, and some gameplay mechanics, as opposed to, hey, here's the thing. But that's the thing, right? Vertical slices. What does the average gamer think of when they think unfinished game, right? Well, they're going to think of what they've been shown is an unfinished game. And that's always, hello, we have finished the first half a level of this game, and it looks gorgeous. You're going to have some like Aliens, Colonial Marines bullshot stuff going on. Because we don't get them quite as much anymore, but we're historically used to bullshots. We're used to an unfinished game looking better than the finished game.
Yeah, and the way that is, and people sometimes think that's like always an overt deception. It isn't always. Often what will happen is the essentially release target quality stuff will be made in order to see how far they can push their things, in order to maybe test some ideas and get it to the highest level of completeness, right? Like usually that will be done for a smallish slice, smallish slice of the game. And there's times where that could be done maybe to secure funding, to secure a publisher. Also times where it could just be like, hey, we're doing a bunch of technical tests, like technical artists and stuff. And you'll have like some little vertical slice. And the rest of the game may not live up to that, purely because game development is a nightmare hellscape. and publishers are not always. It seems they might be getting a lot better these days, though, but are not always great with giving developers deadlines, deadline changes whenever they say, like, hey, this isn't coming together. So it's always an interesting thing. There was Puddlegate in Spider-Man, which obviously was completely indicative of the end quality of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The idea here that, like, people are going to see the unfinished car and be like, the car has no doors. This looks like an incomplete car. Why would I buy this? And it's like, yeah, of course, because it's an incomplete car. It doesn't have its doors yet. Which, to be honest with you, is kind of how some of those GTA criticisms will come off to certainly to anyone who'll be working on that game.
Yeah, I mean, even I had that thing where I remember I was seeing some of the footage, and the way GTA 5 on PS3 specifically, because that was really pushing that hardware, had really bad pop-in when you were going fast.
Yeah.
The thing is on this, like, it was on foot, so it was clearly just like they hadn't actually optimized it or whatever else, or maybe they're even running it in like weak test hardware. And I was like, oh, that is severe pop-in. And I was laughing to myself because, like, oh, that is the exact same way that things pop in GTA 5. Like, the way you just recognize, oh, there's like an order things come in a weird sense of like how models are loaded and textures are loaded on top. And they're like, okay, well, that just looks like GTA. In every conceivable way, even the technical issues looked like GTA 5 to me. I'm like, oh, I see this is... I was like, that's kind of cute. But I could see people going, this looks awful. This looks completely terrible. And you're like, if they release it that way, yeah, it would be.
They're going to release debug build.
Yeah, but they're probably not going to release it that way. They're probably going to make sure that's there. But that's the problem of, like... And here's another thing entirely, because, like, unfinished, but this is, like, alpha unfinished versus... Or, pre-alpha, internal alpha, unfinished, just work in progress, as opposed to this is reasonably reflective of the final product. Because that's like unfinished has, anywhere between it's 0.1% started and it's 99.9% started. You could be 99% and say, oh, well, this is unfinished. Don't judge it. And people like inherently know that's bullshit because the last 1% isn't going to be transformative. But then people look at, because we don't see often like 10% finished game products.
Yeah.
We almost never do. You kind of have this like, almost like a categorization problem of, if this is anything like this, and we have no other information to go on outside of video game developers bad, in a weird sense that people have like that of untrusting of them because they've been done so badly in so many ways. And you kind of see this unfinished and go, well, they better fix it, but I don't know if I trust that. And there's a part of that that's like vaguely reasonable, but not when you're looking at like 10, 20% finished product.
Yeah, well,
especially
to be
not
honest,
especially not when it's like when games look like shit until the last 5%.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those people are probably just the console war types who, they're the freaking way they live their life is seemingly PlayStation versus Xbox, and it's all very embarrassing. So no surprise that from across the industry there has been a lot of sympathy for this situation. A lot of that in the more focused places as well, like the GTA subreddit. Here's a little look at, some alpha footage from Spider-Man, obviously just some gray box testing, an entirely normal thing, which again is just kind of showing the silliness of some of that very bizarre backlash, which I think all just kind of brings in to focus the fun little question of people, they always want devs to be more open, they always want devs to show more, but then that can be quite hard because, devs can do that. People maybe don't fully understand what they're seeing. People maybe extrapolate things. Also, things naturally do change and get re-scoped as time goes on in a project. A feature may just need to be cut down in order to make date.
Yeah, there's a pretty good example of that in Cyberpunk, right?
Yeah.
This example didn't age very well because Cyberpunk released, but it was like all the wall running stuff. And then at some point they're like, they showed it off in some preview. And it was like, it was vertical slice looking preview, so it looked fine. And everyone's like, oh, wall running's the game. And then later, like, wall running is no longer in the game. You're like, but you said it was. That's false advertising. And you're like, on a technicality, yes, I think you, in the spirit of it, you would say no, because you didn't have a big thing in the back of the box saying, wall running is in this game, please buy it for that.
Are pre-orders open? I think that is really the problem. If those claims are made while pre-orders are open.
Yeah.
And that's why I think opening up your pre-orders before you are completely featuring content lock is a very silly idea.
Hello, Blizzard Entertainment.
Oh yeah, War 3.
Yeah, and even Dragonflight. Because obviously Alpha's public with pre-order stuff.
Of course.
But yeah, no, that's like an example of that where that was a little bit, if that circumstance didn't end up so badly for Cyberpunk, people would actually point and go, oh yeah, that's a very good example where that seemed like a feature, but it also kind of broke the rest of the game design, so they had to remove it. Like, well, in the idea of overall making a game, yeah, of course, that's completely fine to like have that change. But it's also because that was in vertical slice-esque footage, it looked complete. Even though you could clearly tell it was broken as hell under that. If you moved the camera around, there'd been nothing else. No part of the city would have loaded. Stuff like that. But that's the part that's difficult to kind of keep. We often talk in like really simplistic terms, all this stuff. But there's so much going on, it's hard to keep all of it in mind. Have all these like different principles bouncing off each other. And trying to be like, yeah, can we be like fully consumer advocates? Yeah. Where do you cross the line and just start shitting on devs for no good reason, or being unrealistic in the name of like consumer advocacy and that kind of part? You're like, we need to find somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, no, for sure. Oh boy. So really, that's kind of the situation. I mean, one interesting thing that all this did bring to mind is with NoClip, where they are, being like super public with their own internal development, which I think is kind of interesting. In fairness, it's what we would have liked to do. It's just that right now, all of our production bandwidth is taken up by our YouTube channels. So I guess whenever we actually do have the money to do it, I do want, some form of very open, game development for what we're doing internally.
I was going to say on that, even like, because we recorded a bit of talking about it recently, and it's like, even just getting behind the scenes stuff, like, hey, how is this seeming now? And what are like the behind the scenes thought behind it, and some little stories from like how stuff actually kind of, we're doing some of that.
Yeah, we're doing a little bit, but I would like to do more and like have it be more structured. But that's kind of like a topic for another day. Yep. Funny enough, one team that is doing quite a lot of that is Skate.
Oh yeah, Skate. Yeah, they really, really like. People were super shocked when they did that. People were super shocked. Here's a grey box. Like, you're showing players a grey box? Have you lost your mind? And then players, and obviously Skate's going to be like a smaller audience than GTA, and for that reason, because that's how humans work, a bit more reasonable. And I was just like, hey, we know that's a grey box. That looks cool. You're kind of, and this is the point of like marketing versus a leak, because the marketing is, hello, don't look at any of the parts that aren't finished. We've told you what's not finished. We'll tell you what is finished or what is in progress. I look at something like Skate, and you're like, yeah, so there's Skate, and look at how much the skating looked cool. The mechanics look good. I was like, okay, well, ignoring the fact that the game's not done because you told us it's not, we're all happy about it.
Yeah. And
that was like a real, like, it's a brave thing, and I can't remember the last time. They'll probably do something again with that soon. It was like, yeah, it was like the whole, here's all of the people skating in the one map and stuff. And I was like, that looks really cool. It was like a new way of doing it. So it is unfortunate that, but then that wouldn't really work with GTA. GTA is definitely a game that needs to be like under wraps until it's done. Skate's kind of a whole part of EA is pushing stuff out and kind of actually trying new things. But yeah.
Yeah. So basically, there you go. They inadvertently had a screenshot Saturday being Grand Theft Auto, but they didn't decide to do it. That's the tricky thing. Yeah. Hey, if you want some good content, take a look at Screenshot Saturday, because that is where often indie developers will be giving you in-development progress pics of their game, maybe in a way where there's a little bit more context than all of this GTA madness. But undoubtedly, this is just absolutely shit for them, and there could actually be ramifications on development. At the very least, any work-from-home policies, any security policies, things like that, that, perhaps may tighten. And as you're probably aware, the tighter those things are, well, the more of a pain in the ass it actually just is to do your job. So that's the situation with GTA. Big suck. Expect, though, 2, 3, 4 years till this game comes out anyway, so we were always going to be waiting quite some time. All right, that's it from us. See you next time.